Ahoy, there be treasure, and it be the Canon PowerShot G12 that just washed ashore. This is Canon's big, bangin', top dollar, fixed lens compact. It's got almost everything you need in the way of manual controls. It has a very advanced design, and it's up against Nikon's Coolpix P7000 and Panasonic's recently announced Lumix DMC LX5. So let's jump into the PowerShot G12 because this is one hell of a camera. The killer Canon PowerShot G12 still exhibits that large brick-like design. It's definitely not pocket-sized, but it's slim enough to fit inside a big camera bag. This is a camera for an advanced professional who wants a buddy to their 7D, or a student who doesn't want to go into the fixed lens realm yet. On the top, you'll notice a layer cake styled dial configuration. The bottom dial is an ISO dial, and the top is a mode dial. We love the ISO dial. It's one of the most handy things to have in the field. We also get an exposure compensation dial, which was another excellent thing. And this year, Canon put a front control dial on the G12 to be used in conjunction with the spinning control wheel on the back of the camera, and together we got a very similar feel to a DSLR. Now the G12 also offers an assignable shortcut button that we could put nearly any manual control to, and we get an exposure lock button, manual focus, macro, self-timer, flash, flexi zone AF button, metering button, and menu buttons. So this camera is very stocked from the outside. There's also the 2.8-inch flip-out LCD with a 461,000 dot display. The other cool thing about this camera is that it has a hot shoe on top for speedlight flash, and you could also attach a teleconversion lens for telephoto shooting. On the side for ports, what we have is an HDMI, a remote, and a USB AV out. We also have a slot that takes SD, SDHC, and XDXC cards, and a nice honking big battery that gave us great battery life. We'll round this little appetizer menu out with an optical viewfinder that does a fair job, but we don't get any image information when we look through it. And also we have an embedded flash at the top. That's decent, but it's still an embedded flash and you can only take it so far. Shooting with the Canon PowerShot G12 could only be described as an electric dream of awesome. This camera has all of the bare essentials for pretty much any shooter. Features are so easy to access, and modes and settings are so simple to implement. We love the digital level meter, which helped us shooting symmetry, keeping the camera parallel to the horizon. We also love the new self-timer mode, which was customizable up to 30 seconds using the front dial, and we could take up to 10 shots in sequence, which is great for lots of our long exposure shoots. For manual controls, ISO goes up to 3200. We get a shutter speed that goes down to 15 seconds. And we could have used a little more there, maybe 30 seconds. I know Panasonic has 60 seconds, so that would have been nice. Aperture is 2.8 to 8.0. We could have used a little bit brighter of an aperture for this camera. The Panasonic Lumix DMC LX5 has a 2.0 aperture, and we know a lot of cameras, compacts these days, are opening up the apertures. White balance is excellent. We could use the front dial to customize and fine-tune any white balance setting. And there's also a neutral density filter built in which we tested. It actually works. We're able to shoot in brighter light conditions, yet get that smooth waterfall effect rather than that fast shutter. The G12 has exposure bracketing, focus bracketing. It also has 5 different aspect ratios to shoot in. And we could capture images in JPEG, RAW plus JPEG. The G12 also has Flexi Zone, which allows us to take a focus frame and move it around the screen. It's got one hell of an automatic focus assist beam. It's this blue light that shoots through the woods like a laser beam. and it's got 3 different levels of image stabilization. We found the image stabilization on this camera to be very good. Now this camera also has a bunch of scene modes. There's the new super vivid mode, posterize, but we now get an HDR, high dynamic range mode, that allows us to use super vivid and posterize in addition to black and white and sepia. So that's really cool. And there's also a nostalgic mode that allows us to boost or subtract saturation from the image. Now it's time for image quality. In bright light, the Canon PowerShot G12 produces exceptional images, and that's because Canon didn't mess with a good thing. They kept the same 10 megapixel 1/1.7 inch sensor, and we get the same quality this year. In low light, this camera exhibits noise around 1600 ISO. It's not terrible though, and the raw quality actually exhibits more noise. It has more detail in low light, definitely more detail. So regardless, we recommend shooting in RAW with this camera, RAW and JPEG, but image quality is very, very good. We're really excited to see how it's going to stack up against the Panasonic LX5 and Nikon P7000. As far as video quality, the 720p video quality is good. Video mode is not very advanced. You can't zoom in video mode, and you also can't use manual focus in video mode, so you're very limited. It's almost like Canon just tacked it on. So image quality with the G12, very good. Be sure to go on our site and look at all our samples. We have tons of beautiful, luscious samples for you to look at, and tons of video samples too. If you don't want an interchangeable lens system, you want a little friend for your 7D or your D700, the Canon PowerShot G12 is an excellent option. It has plenty of manual controls, awesome external controls, very good image quality, and it's just an overall great, solid little brick of excellence. We recommend the Canon PowerShot G12, but be sure to check out our full review at infosyncworld.com. And if things are still up in the air, wait for our review of the Nikon P7000 and Panasonic LX5 coming up very soon. Thanks for tuning in. For InfoSync World, I'm Mike Perlman.